to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. My name is Dr. Sarah Gordon, and I'm the co-founder of the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. Back in May of 2025, I presented an idea to my colleague, Dr. Marilyn Ward, about starting a podcast focused on health, health promotion, and human performance based on our doctoral studies and experiences as PhD students. Dr. Marilyn Ward and I hold doctorate degrees in health and human performance from Concordia University, Chicago. We use our podcast as a platform to educate and motivate others to live their best lives from the inside out. We are both keenly aware of the emotional and physical toll hard work towards achieving goals can have on the quality of your life. Whether you're pursuing an academic degree, working hard hours in your career, or striving towards big goals, your health is your wealth. The PhD Journey Unplugged podcast will always strive to provide genuine perspectives based on our real life experiences, as well as present evidence-based research findings towards health promotion. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. All information and opinions expressed in this podcast are for general purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice.
Hello, and welcome back to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. I am Dr. Marilyn Ward, and I am sitting here with my friend, Dr. Sarah Gordon. All right, Dr. Gordon, we got a lot to catch up on, so please, what are we doing today?
Okay, well, first of all, it's great to see you.
You as well.
And I
Here,
have
having a week off.
to, I have to apologize to our listeners. Last weekend, my son got married, and I was up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, beautiful area. Our hotel was in
Michigan's my home
Detroit.
state.
What'd you say?
I said, Michigan's my home state. Yay.
It was amazing. We drove.
Oh,
Um,
you did?
yes. I mean, today we're going to talk about stepping forward into growth, stepping outside your comfort zone. So I'm just going to start by just kind of saying, like last weekend, we drove to Michigan, which was a little outside our comfort zone. We never been up there, and
Yes.
it was amazing. And my intention was to record Sunday morning after the wedding. And Marilyn, you were so patient with me, and I just said, there's just no way. And honestly, sometimes in life, you just have to set a priority. And for me,
Yeah.
last weekend was my son's wedding, and that was the priority. And so here we are, we're back. It was
And I kept
amazing.
thinking, I was like, there's no way. I'm thinking, I know, like, I love to have fun at a wedding and dance all night, and I want to be the last one because I don't want to miss anything. But I was like, all right, well, she said we're going to record. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't
You
know. And I
you
was
know.
totally fine either way what we were going to do. So I was just,
But
prepared.
it's interesting, and we will start. I just wanted to recap a little bit. I have a good friend that see at this lake that I get invited to go with another friend. They all water ski, and she actually was waiting to hear from us last Monday. And I thought, in my mind, I was thinking nobody is going to miss us, But that's a false assumption in there, and people were, and so I apologize. It's on me, but I really wanted to just embrace the moment from my son and his beautiful
Oh,
wife now, Claudia and
well,
Matthew. And
she is
so,
beautiful.
yeah,
You shared such beautiful pictures. And I'm like, oh, you could see the love in all
yeah,
the
it
pictures.
was great.
Dress was gorgeous.
Look, we could spend a whole episode talking about that, but my son would probably be very upset with me if I did that anyway. But also, before we dive into today's topic and just kind of settle back into our conversations, get back on our PhD Journey Unplugged podcast track. You started a new job a couple weeks ago, and I just want to, talk about pushing yourself outside our comfort zone, which we're going to talk about today, and pushing yourself into a learning curve. You've really had to adapt.
Yes,
We'll talk
yes.
about that today.
Yes, it's been an interesting journey so far. 2 weeks really technically on the job, being thrown in and not thrown in. They placed me gently, but it's definitely been, some of it's repeat, some of it's very familiar, and some of it's brand new. So
And this
I
is the
am,
perfect timing to have this conversation today
yeah,
because, growth is all about being uncomfortable.
and adaptable. I've
And
had to, adapt and
well, you look
overcome.
great. You don't look frazzled.
Thanks. I know I just got my hair cut. I got my nails done for the first time in a year because, like going through school, I think I've shared this before. I took time off of work. You took time off of work. And, I had to rearrange my budget. So necessities, wants and needs became, so
Yes,
nail, and these are my real nails. I just got paint and I got my toes done and things
this
that,
feels good.
yeah, I was like, those were things, extra expenses. So I pampered myself yesterday and it felt wonderful.
Well, and you deserve that, and it's a wonderful reward for working hard.
Yeah,
And one other thing, I never have my dogs in here. I have both of them in here today. Now they're
they're gonna,
stepping outside my comfort zone. They're all snuggly. We're having a nor'easter here up in Delaware. So they're
yeah,
in,
you mentioned that. What is
yeah,
that?
like a
Wait, like I
major
like a
off the
nor'easter.
coast storm, wind, rain. So
Okay.
we'll try to get through this, but they should be okay in the background. So a lot of, you know, stepping outside our comfort zone. Anyhow, well, here we are, episode 21. It feels good to be back. It's good to see you.
You
Thank
as
you,
well.
everybody, for your patience. We have so much to talk about. I
I
mean,
know.
so much. I mean, not only what we laid out to talk about in terms of understanding growth and why it's important for us, but just talk about what just happened yesterday. The
Yeah.
the World Championship happened in Kona.
Yes.
And we know well, our guest who was on our show a
Yeah,
couple.
that's what made it so exciting. I've never honestly
Mm.
before really followed Kona until
Yeah,
having on as our guest. So when all of the things started popping on, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was waiting to see if we saw her maybe.
yeah.
But
I mean, you talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. I mean, she finished, she did remarkably well.
oh, did she? I was going to
Um,
ask you. So I'm glad you know the
yeah,
result.
and we'll see if she'll come back on to talk about it. So I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to give her, if she would like to, give her that opportunity. But it was incredible to watch. We also learned, and I shared with you that an athlete named Natalie Grabow, and you know me with names, but it's Grabow. She finished it, um, I think in 16 hours and 45 minutes or something. I mean,
I took
she
a picture of it. Yeah. Because I
at
was like,
age 80, and she is the oldest female athlete, and I don't know if it's male or female, but to have ever finished it. And
yeah.
so there's a picture of her crawling
She fell. I watched, she was
down and rolled like towards the finish
correct.
line.
And fell and got back up. Yeah, finished in 16:45:25. What I don't understand though on Facebook is they posted that picture of her. This was a full Ironman, right?
Hmm.
It was a full. But this picture that they post of her, and I just
That
did a
that's an
snapshot.
old picture.
Okay. I was like,
That's
why would
not
they put her
yesterday.
8.3? Why would they do that? It had me so confused.
I don't know,
Probably
but
dressed and looks good, not
yeah.
all,
But
but
she finished that at 80. And if
80
you have
years old.
anybody, any of our listeners have a chance to look her up and watch that video, you talk about pushing yourself outside the comfort zone. I mean,
And she smiled.
not
She was
incredible
smiling at me.
resilience.
Like, yes.
It's amazing. It's so inspiring. It's just amazing. And I also had the opportunity to write Laura's story, which posted in Triathlete magazine like last week before the race.
Yes. Such a great
And
story. I shared it.
thank
So
you.
a lot of
I just am
people.
so inspired by these women pushing themselves so beyond, you know,
And
what we're told that we can and should do, I guess.
yes, and apparently it was hot
Certain
that day.
ages.
And it was really, really hot yesterday, apparently, because one of the top leading women who's a veteran in the Ironman series,
Yes.
didn't make it because she almost had a heat stroke or heat
Yeah.
exhaustion. And several people, I was watching it today, some of the top names, were falling out, and just some that weren't top names, but you know, that's when I always say you have to listen to your body and know like know when to tap out. Like my life is more important than going across that finish line and getting the trophy. You have to know when to say, I cannot, and you go right back out and you do it again, right? You can go and
Absolutely.
again.
And we're going to talk about that today about like it kind of ebbs and flows through your comfort zone. And when you
Yeah.
push too far beyond it, you get into this
Right.
space where you have to use some um introspection to say, like she did, like
Yeah.
if I keep
You
going,
have,
I'm going to get super sick here.
yeah, you have to be okay with, and I don't want to say it like this, so I'm going to explain myself after I say it. You have to be okay with failure, right? You have to be okay that you might not win that because it teaches us something. It teaches us
Right.
something in the moment. And so to be okay, like, hey, I didn't do it this time. And I know now what to do different so I can go do it next time. So not that I'm like, yeah, it's okay to fail. No, it's not what I'm saying, but we have to be okay. Not everybody is good. There's always winners and there's always a loser. And I hate to say the word loser, but not everybody's going to make it, but you have to be okay with understanding it, what it means.
Right.
So you,
At that level, you've trained so hard, you have to know warning signs like, okay, this is not something,
right,
or you need somebody in your on your team or around you that recognizes, if you
right.
keep pushing, you're gonna really suffer. But big
Yeah.
weekend, big couple weeks, you settling into your new job. My son got married, Kona happened, and here we are back on track in the middle of a
Yeah.
nor'easter.
And no, we missed our like the hurricane that was like talking about coming and then it was going to hit North Carolina,
Yeah,
which I don't really know if it hit, but
it's coming
and I
here.
yeah, God's been good to us because last year we got hit back to back and we're still recovering. A lot of the islands like
I
Anna Maria,
remember. I remember
yeah,
Sanibel got hit hard.
Annabelle, yep, they're so everybody we're thankful, like give us a break this year so we can still catch up from next year or last year.
Well, all right. So let me start with this quote I read. So we've talked about Abraham Maslow. He was a behavioral psychologist in the past, his hierarchy of needs in terms of growing towards self-actualization. And so how do you push yourself to get closer to what you truly and fully can become in terms of learning and growing? And so he's kind of known for that, hierarchy of needs. And he
Mhm.
says, and I thought this was a good way to kind of frame the conversation. In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward in growth or to step back into safety.
Ooh.
And I think we've had so many great examples of that right now. I mean, you taking the chance to go back into
Yeah.
to a position, or not go back, but move forward, I guess, go back to work. And every time I text you, how's it going? You come back and say, I'm learning so much. It's so much to learn. It's so
Ooh,
much to learn.
a
And that's kind
lot.
of the whole point, of moving forward and stepping forward into growth.
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. And, honestly, sometimes that first step is the hardest step.
Yes, because it was very comfortable. You and I shared this a lot before I started. I applied at a lot of places and it was very easy for us to like, well, right now I feel safe. Right now we're doing our podcast, working on my social media. It was very safe. Uh, Not extremely lucrative, wasn't making a lot of money. But I stayed in my comfort zone because it felt nice, right? And I knew taking on this new role, I was scared because
Right.
one, it's been a year and a half since being back in the working field. I mean, I took a little part-time at home job, but being back in the workforce, back around people, it's a corporate company, so working with a lot of people all over the United States. Um, which I'm familiar with. So that part I was like, okay, but it does take me, it takes you time to reestablish a relationship with, my higher ups and building the relationships with, my staff. And so and I'm still a little nervous. I'm only, a
Well, we're
month
gonna
in,
we're
really
gonna
two
talk
weeks.
about it. You're in what's called the learning zone.
Yes. Man,
But that's a great
feel like
place
a
to be.
freshman.
It's a great place to be. Um, And if you think about it, we started this podcast based on our PhD journeys, but I mean, anybody going through anything in life, whether it's a new job or moving or anything, always
Yeah.
takes you a little bit outside your comfort zone. But we always talk about taking that first step to go back to get our PhDs. That pushed us outside our comfort zone, but we found out it was extremely rewarding.
Yes. I
Um,
remember the first time going to school way back when I entered Georgia Military College. And it's a non-traditional, but I was in there with some young kids right out of high school. And I think I shared this before, and they're whizzing through this math. And I'm like, had to take, I think, two or three remedial math classes because I was 32 years old, I think, when I started my associates way back. So that's, I think, going into the PhD. even though we'd already had the other experience, it was still bigger and more scarier.
Well, that's an outstanding segue into my announcement and talk about. I don't think the word is failure. I think the word is coming to peace with something and pivoting. I decided, you know what I'm
I
getting.
wasn't, I know, I wasn't sure if we were going to share
Oh, I'm
today.
absolutely so happy I made this decision. Okay, I decided to go in and start this neuroscience program at UPenn, and I just wasn't recovered from my PhD program. I mean, that's just the truth. My brain, my thinking. And the other thing is, so I decided to I'm going to use the word pause, okay?
You can always,
I'm in a pause. I can come back to it at any point. I don't know if I will. But what I found in my 5 weeks is that even though I ran a mixed methods study for my dissertation research, I did quantitative and qualitative. The quantitative was a survey methodology. The qualitative were one-on-one interviews with the participants in my study. I'm a qualitative person. I am not a hard science person. And I just feel more, I mean, I'm gonna use the word comfortable, but there's a lot of growth in it too. But I enjoy interviewing people, writing their stories, letting people shine through my writing. And that's where I really feel like I can grow. Neuroscience is fascinating. It's so complex. I have so much respect for people in that space, in that field.
yeah.
It's not for me right now. It's just
That-
not. So I have put it on pause.
I mean, you would
And
share with me some of your
I'm
class.
fine with it.
Wow, but that was some intense work. I mean,
Well,
I
let me
feel
also share this, okay? Sometimes in life, and I hope if this helps anybody out there, because this podcast is all about helping people with their mental health, physical health, social emotional health.
yeah.
Sometimes in life, you got to make a hard decision. And I knew going into week 6 was my son's wedding and his wedding festivities. And I also knew I had 2 quizzes, a discussion post, discussion reply, a problem set, and an exam of like 4 chapters, all that one week.
Oh
And
my.
I really had to have, they say this like come to Jesus moment.
I was
I
just going to
really
say
had
that.
to self-reflect and say, am I going to be present for my son's wedding and everything that's going on this week in his life that's so important to him? Or am I going to try to do both and not do either one very well
Yeah.
and try to get all this work done this week? And it was a clear decision for me,
Yeah.
regardless of it being hard, and it's hard. It was a clear decision. Matt came first. My son came first. And I think the lesson there for our listeners is sometimes when you're growing and you're making changes in your life, and I'm just being 100% honest and real here, you got to make hard decisions
Right. And
based on your priorities in your life. And for me, my son
absolutely.
was 100% my priority.
You
No
can never,
regrets.
you can't ever get that back.
Never
You
get
can
it back.
get that back. Your classwork, you can. And I think it was just like that story we were reading of, I think it was on LinkedIn, the young lady who was getting her PhD and she had to stop. She's like, I need to put my family
Yeah.
first. And so she stopped and she said, it might not, I'm not going to stop forever. I'll come back to it. But at this point, so for
I
you,
might or I might not. I don't know. It's a
but
world
you
of
need to
mine.
be 100% there for your son because that's a moment
100%.
that you can't replicate later. I mean, well, I don't know. Both your sons married now?
My other son is engaged. They're getting married, maybe,
Okay, so
maybe next year. They haven't set a date. But the interesting thing about when you have to make a big decision, when it's the right decision, you have 100% peace.
right. And
As
it's
soon
like
as
it
I
almost
made
like a weight
it,
comes off you.
yes, I was so relaxed and I could go into traveling to Michigan and enjoy the rehearsal dinner and enjoy the wedding and enjoy everything about it, all the love and all the moments. And it was just like a weight lifted off my shoulders. So for anybody out there, if you're struggling with a big decision and it doesn't feel comfortable,
Right. It could be a job, right? Like
leave
I've
with
seen
it.
so many people like a job where they have to like decide, do we stay or do we move across country? Joining the military.
Yeah.
That's a hard decision, joining the military, because you make that when you do your oath. It's like your life is owed now to the military. And that was a big decision for me. I was 22 and I had no kid, I wasn't married, no children. I joined later than most. But that was something that, and I see a lot of people going through that now, like, oh, I don't know if I can make those sacrifices. Well, that's one of those hard decisions. And then it was an even harder decision deciding to whether or not to get out, to stay in or get out.
It's
But
an
my
excellent
kid,
point.
help my having my son and I was pregnant with my daughter. I was like, you know what? I deployed once with my son and that was not fun watching him digress and like he was 2 years old and I was like, I will never do that again. So I made the decision to get out with my daughter. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that we, by the way, I'm having a hot flash, everybody. I apologize.
I
Other
was
thing,
just in the store looking at buying these meds for women through menopause.
I am going on that stuff because that's another thing about comfort zone. Like, trust the science. The science is coming out that's saying it's safe for us. It was misleading when it came out years ago, and but I just think it's interesting that this is the conversation we're having, the topic, because we've both been pushed.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've just been doing the research out there
Yeah.
to talk about this now. Like I had to give up something that I really thought was the path for me, and
Hmm.
I found out it's really not, and I pivoted, and you had to start something totally different,
Yeah.
and you're still kind of filling that out, and so that's
Yeah.
I think decisions are all about. They're not they don't have to be final.
And
And
when you make these
not black
pivots,
or white, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
right? And now that you've pivoted, who knows what's in store for you, right? Like now it's like, oh, something's going to come along that was meant for you and it's still out there.
Oh, yeah, I love the idea that I had the opportunity to write this story that was timed with Kona, and it fills my heart with joy, and that's the direction I definitely am going to move in. But I want to just talk about, and I apologize for having a hot flash on our show, but
If you wouldn't have said it, we wouldn't have known it.
oh, my glasses are
I
fogging
can't,
up.
I can't see that you're having one except for when you're
I
doing
need
this. I'm
windshield
like,
wipers on my glasses.
oh
Who,
no.
anybody out there want to invent that for menopausal women? All right, let's talk about the science behind comfort zones.
Okay.
There's something called the Yerkes-Dodson law. It's based on performance, and as we get some anxiety and some stress towards performance, we get to this point where we
Yeah.
can perform our best. If we go too far over it, it starts to fall off and decline. Now, it's not 100% science. There's a lot, as I studied it, there's a lot of, ambiguity about it. Maybe it's very individualized, maybe it doesn't work for everybody, maybe it's not for every, situation. But I think it's important to understand when we talk about comfort zone, this like fight or flight response, like there is some when you're pushing yourself to try something new, whether it's an Ironman, a new job, give up neuroscience, drive somewhere, fly, I don't love to fly. I'm gonna fly to visit my son in England in December. Like that's scary, whatever it is. Some anxiety, some stress is good. It helps us perform better.
Right.
The challenge is understanding when it gets to be too much
Right.
and it kind of interferes with that level of performance. So I think that's kind of an interesting science behind it.
Yeah. And it talks about how it's rooted in the brain's natural aversion to stress and uncertainty. So it's like not knowing. And I'm going to use example last weekend. We went to Busch Gardens, Robin's job. They do a family day at Busch Gardens. Well, Robin doesn't ride roller coasters, but I love them. And we brought her son. The one son doesn't like them. So me and her oldest, he loves roller coasters and so do I. But I remember there was a couple and he's like, no, I don't want to go. I don't know. It's gonna be scary. It's gonna be, and I was like, dude, you love them. It's gonna be great. He's like, I don't know. What's it gonna be like? So, and I know it's silly. We're just talking about a roller coaster, but it's that uncertainty. If you haven't ridden that ride before, you can watch it, but you don't know. Now, the one ride, oh, that's like the super scary one. We did ride that 2 years ago. And we both made the decision, we're not doing that one again. Because we knew what it was going to cause us. And so you don't. So, you have that too. Your past experiences can also help ease your pain or Or it's gonna be like, remind you, don't do that again.
Well, that's because the next thing I was just going to talk about is fear versus growth. Right? So there's some fear going onto a roller coaster. I have a
Yeah.
really funny story about a roller coaster. Did you say you're at Hershey Park? No, Busch
Uh,
Gardens. Busch Gardens. Yeah, this is years ago. Went to Hershey Park. My sister-in-law and I, we got on a roller coaster, but we hadn't seen like the whole roller coaster from the we just kind of went into the entrance
oh,
to,
they're tricky about it because I swear none of them you can
right, you
do.
don't really get to see what you're
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
We get on it, we screaming, we're terrified. I mean, literally. We get off, we walk over, we look back. It was like the Mickey Mouse kids roller coaster. God's honest truth. We died laughing so hard. It was the smallest roller coaster in the park. We thought we
Oh my
were like
gosh.
the mega mammoth one, but fear. Fear.
Yeah.
You guys did
We're
it.
going on dangerous ones. Our feet are hanging. We're hanging off the cliff like this. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. Well, let me see what my notes say here. Fear often signals that you are about to expand into a new territory. So you need to reframe discomfort as evidence of growth rather than failure. I kind of love that actually. It's kind of what you were saying in the beginning about Lucy Charles Barkley, who got sick, had heat exhaustion during the run. And she knew that she's smart enough to know that
Yeah. You have to know.
I mean, in a strange way, that is growth, knowing
Right.
to
It's
pull
right.
back.
Because our egos
Right?
love, your ego will get in the way, and your ego is like, you can do it, you can do it. And you're
Right.
like, I can't fail. What are people going to think about me? And it's like, you got to learn, you got to know the
It's
difference.
growth.
Ego talking and your body, right? And that's
I mean, I'm
growth.
going to say it this way. Tell me what you think about this. It takes growth to accept failure,
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I was just saying. You got to look at failure as just a learning process. Like,
a setback. It's not like a failure is not one and done. A
right.
failure is recognizing, like for me with neuroscience, recognizing, I mean, my head was, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even remember how to like brush my teeth. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, it was like I really couldn't function with everything else that was going on at the moment. So it's a setback. And then we've talked about all the time about the key to success is being adaptable
Yeah.
and
I
learning to
think it's
pivot.
probably because people say like quitting is associated with failure, right? If you quit, you fail. And I don't think that's quite the same. You can, like, if you quit, like I always say, my mantra about getting your mind right and your body will follow, because most people give up in their minds before they've ever even taken a foot into action. So, or footstep into action. So that's a difference. Like, if you quit without putting in the effort, you just quit, you're like, I don't want to do it, I quit, because it gets a little tough. And I
Right.
think that's different than a failure of, I gave it my best. Like I failed in basic training. I failed in
We were
like
talking
I
about
failed
that.
my sit-ups and I had to go back 2 weeks. And I don't think that that was a failure that was, because I picked myself up, dusted off, trained extra hard at night, and made it through. So that's the difference, I think, in a failure and
Well,
just quitting.
yeah, I agree. And like for me, like I've always done a really good job of taking on a lot. Climbing big mountains, right? Going through my PhD program, being a caregiver for my mom, just a
Yeah.
lot, then, neuroscience, like a lot of things. So for me, a learning zone, and what I'm going to talk about these three zones, is kind of like saying it's okay to like have more joy and playtime in your life. Like that is a very uncomfortable space for me.
Yeah.
So, and thinking about writing stories and things like that that bring me joy and not necessarily like such a grind. So I guess I'm giving that example because it's so different for everybody.
Right.
Growth is so different and what you are drawn, I guess, to or what circumstance you find yourself in. Let me talk about these three stages real quick, just to put some context into what I'm saying. So there's the comfort zone. the learning zone, and the panic zone. Now, this is just a little bit based on research that I did. I mean, there's lots of different ways to describe it, but the comfort zone is where we feel safe, things are familiar. Um, we just stay where we're comfortable, right?
And a lot of people stay there.
Netflix all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. I do
Not,
that once in a while.
but not like you getting up. You get up now like 5:30 in the morning. You go do your
4:40
exercise.
in the morning to be
There you
out the
go.
door at the gym by 5. Yeah.
Or you go to work. Okay, that's pushing yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
The learning zone is where we push ourselves to try new things. We learn. We're growth oriented. We're taking actions. Um, this is the zone, I guess you could call it like the target zone that we want. I mean, I personally philosophically would say, yes, you want to be in a learning zone, but it's okay to also be
Yeah.
comfortable, to balance, to have some moderation in your life. You can't
Yeah.
always push, you know, you push and then it's okay to be cozy and
Right.
in your home or, you know, and feel comfortable. Um, and then there's the panic zone. You've pushed, we talked about it with Kona, with the
Yeah.
example of Kona. You've pushed too far and that was probably a medical decision, not so much mental, but you
Right.
feel overwhelmed, you know, and you stop whatever you're doing.
Right.
So ideally we want to stay in that middle zone, but I don't think life is that neat and pretty.
No, this reminds me of the six now. I think the 6 stages of change, where you really want to stay in that action stage, right?
Right.
Most people get to the maintenance, but really, technically, to stay out of the maintenance, you want to stay in action. So you're constantly working. So just like the learning zone, you're always in that zone, and you may be a little idle because that learning zone could get comfortable, right? And so you're kind of
True.
idling
That's a good
along,
point.
and so to where you're comfortable, and then you know if you've hit too hard with that panic, or if you've got into your that zone, like the action, and then you hit maintenance, and then I say people get into that celebratory stage and we stay there too long, gained weight and had to go back. So same thing, that they might have hit panic and then they've kind of gone back a little bit to that learner, to where in the learning zone you feel comfort. I don't know. That just hit me in my brain just now. So
No, I
whether
think that, no, those are great. It's great because I think what you're saying is that I mean, I just don't think life is black or white. Like, okay, you can't be in a
no,
comfort zone. You got to be in a learning zone. Okay, now you're in a panic
yeah,
zone. It doesn't work that
right,
way. Okay.
yeah,
We adapt to situations, right?
yeah,
It's just like working out in the gym. Like you said, even in a learning zone, you start to learn and then you can get comfortable there. It's just like the
yeah,
gym. You know, when you lift and you strength train, your body adapts. Over time, you need to lift heavier weight. You need to,
right.
you
Yes,
know,
keep using those same 2 pound. I love it because I see some of the older ladies in there, and they've been doing the same workout and the same 2 pound weights day in and day out. And it's been a year since I've been going there, and I'm just like, I don't think you're getting anywhere. But different, whatever it is that they're doing,
it could
we
be
love it.
social interact,
And they're just obviously they're
it's having a time.
maintaining and they love it. But yeah, if you're trying to see growth and change, you have to get
I have
uncomfortable.
to get uncomfortable a little bit. And actually, the little bit I do know about the brain now, my 5 weeks study. You know, when your brain is like any other muscle, right? So when you are fumbling with something and something feels uncomfortable and when you're trying to learn it, I mean, that's learning. I mean,
Right.
that's where the growth happens. You're pushing your brain to learn new
Absolutely.
things. Um, so it's so interesting to me that we're having this conversation, considering we've both been in this kind of growth period, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we really finished school the same time.
Yeah.
Might have finished a month or two earlier, but I didn't do much.
You
I
did.
stayed in my celebratory stage for a couple of months waiting for you to finish. Um,
Listen, I've heard from two classmates who are still, trying to finish up. One's very close to Final Defense. I'd love to have him on the show
Oh,
when he crosses the
yes.
finish line. He's had interesting setbacks and challenges along the way, some of them outside of his control, and he just had to kind of adjust and adapt to it, which is kind of interesting. And then another friend just finally got so happy, talked to her last week, was able to form her committee. A lot of challenges there outside of her control. And that's
Right,
part of I think when you talk about growth and pushing yourself outside the comfort zone, sometimes we don't have control over all those things.
right. I
All we
remember,
have is control on how to react.
yeah, I was nervous. There was a few times, and I don't know if it was other classmates saying, or where I might have been in our couple of our little discussions site discussions, and about how they had to stop class and then they came back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have even known what to do. Like I always think back, like if when my sister passed, I was like, if I stop, how do I get back going again? Well, I didn't know. I've never in any of my school have ever stopped taking classes in the middle of the program, like bachelor's. So, like after I've completed the degree, I took a break, but I never knew what the process was in between. But I'd heard horror stories like, oh, I had to take time off, then you had to wait till the next semester to start, and then you have to wait for your financial aid to kick back in. And
That
that was
happened to my friend. I mean, she had a lot of that, but
an
she didn't give up.
But that's what deterred me from ever doing it, because I was like, that would put me in such a panic mode and anxiety, because that's the stuff that gives me anxiety when I'm not sticking to my schedule. And so I'm very thankful that I didn't have to, or that I stuck with it. Now I wish I probably think going back, wish I would have taken time to grieve more and to probably go through therapy during her death. But things happen, and to me,
Well,
staying focused on school helped me somewhat.
sometimes having structure in the midst of something as traumatic as that, Marilyn, and
Yeah.
for anybody listening, that helps you get through it.
Yeah, for
Sometimes
me,
structure is really
yeah,
what you need, whether you can get it through, employment, whether it's your workouts, whatever you can do when you here. This is what the example I'm giving with my friends from school, or our friends who are still finishing up, and growth and comfort zones. Sometimes we don't have control over all that stuff. Well, sometimes we can take action, push ourselves into learning zone, create
right.
new things for our lives, learn new skills, sign up for new classes, sign up for, whatever it is. But sometimes we can't control everything happening around us, and we are challenged to grow in how we handle those things. Okay.
Yeah,
And having structure in your life and having people in your world to support you too, or we've talked about therapy and, different things you can
yeah,
do. The structure can really help you get through it. And so I know you didn't have the opportunity then, but maybe it was a godsend.
right. Like,
But maybe take time now, if you're
yes,
ready.
and I do. I have more. I had more freedom now, and was able to take, the time to like dive more, deeper into like my own healing and my own grieving process. I'm still on that roller coaster. One day I'm fine, and the next day I'm not, and that's
Well,
okay,
that's how grief works.
right? So.
And there's no timeline on it. You
And
take
that's
as
the
much
thing
time as
too.
you
I
need.
finally had to say, you know what? When people say, well, you should be over it by now. No, there's no, everybody, we're all different. And my grief goes up and down with, what's going on in life. And
And there's
so for,
triggers. People have different triggers in life. And so that's, just be kind to yourself. I
yeah.
just ordered a sweatshirt, a little off topic, so forgive me, but it's called it's dearperson.co. And the sweatshirt says you are enough. And then
Ah,
there's a message on the back. Have you seen it?
yes. Yeah, I think
Love
that's
that sweatshirt.
that one or yes.
It's
And
basically for suicide
yes,
prevention
I think it was
awareness.
by a guy who his sister might have been. It was a young gentleman, I think, that started that.
And so, as we talk about comfort zones, I mean, if you're listening today and you're struggling with something and you feeling overwhelmed, you know, maybe you're pushing too hard. Maybe you need to pull back a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
Um, you know, ask for help. We always say when we talk about strategies, ask people for help.
Right.
You know,
'Cause I think our biggest struggle, and I think you might have mentioned it before, when you get your committee, right? When you get your dissertation committee, you have to be very like at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick these two professors because I know that they're really strict and good and I want them on my team. And then it became, you have to find somebody that's also in your field, right? Like your reader has to know your field and so you got to be thoughtful about that. When it comes to the methodologies, make sure that professor knows statistics. So you have to be very strategic in picking your team. And also the ones that don't have their plates so full. Now, you and I were lucky. Like, I feel like
yes.
because we both shared, we had the same chair. We had
Yeah.
different methodologists and readers, but we were lucky. Like, I feel like I was pretty lucky. My people got back with me within 1 to 3 weeks as far as turnaround for the rewrites and stuff. Where we've had some, right? Didn't you mention a classmate that it was taking months, or it wasn't you, that was took like
My
over a
no, my
month?
friend who just last week, it's taken her since January to form her committee.
Oh my gosh, just
She,
before the committee.
she was really, it was really outside of her control. It was,
Mm,
talk about comfort zone and moving into panic zone. I mean, she had, you just
yeah,
sometimes you have to trust the process. There is a lot you can do while you're in that kind of pause too. You can do your literature review, you can study research. I mean, there's lots of things you can
right.
do in preparation in that time. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I just lost my train of thought. I think that what I was going to say is that
Just extra
we
stressors.
want,
So just, I think, be thoughtful. Be thoughtful
well,
for, like you said, it's out of your control. But so that's where I think we have to be thoughtful in what it is that we're trying to do and who we're
yeah,
trying to work with and what. And it's okay to pivot and change and say, because I've seen people go halfway through and they had to change out their methodologist for whatever
yeah,
reason.
so that's where I was going to say, like with the PhD journey, we were all challenged different stages in different ways. It's a highly individualized experience. Like even though the steps and the processes are similar, right? We all had to go through the same steps, but
Right.
the roadblocks, like for me, like I passed comps. That wasn't my roadblock, right? I got through
That's my
comps,
roadblock.
right? But that wasn't it. Okay, my roadblock was very early on having a teacher who told me
Ugh.
you're not going to do well in the learning zone.
Was he there at graduation by
No.
any chance? Oh,
No. But you know what?
that'd have been
In his
interesting.
defense, he was right. I'm not sticking with neuroscience because he did tell me. But anyhow, no, my point is that wasn't so maybe that was, originally like somebody telling me I wasn't going to succeed. But so comps wasn't that. For me, it was all the revisions back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Months of revisions. And I don't think you had that. I had that.
Okay. I mean, I had a couple. I remember her saying, I found
So
one
many.
radical error. I had a couple like mine was so dumb though. Mine was like my intro and my conclusion were the two things that she's like, you got to tweak this, and those were the two spots. I'm like, hey, if the big body of it's correct and all I got to do is tweak these two. So my revisions, yeah,
See, so
they're
your
not that
learning
intense.
curve was different. We all,
Yeah.
it's highly individualized. It's just
Yeah.
don't give up. I guess the key, what we're talking about today is like push yourself in that zone a little bit. If you're
Yeah.
in a space where you feel like you're so overwhelmed, your mental health is suffering,
Yeah.
pull back and always ask for help. I have a few strategies. Just want to go over real quick.
Really, you don't know, let me say it real quick. You don't know that you've been through growth really until you're done. You don't really know that it's a growth experience while you're going through it until you're done.
That's just that is
Then you realize it.
it's brilliant because it's so true. And then you can, I mean, gosh, you know that expression, hindsight's 2020, but it's
Yeah.
true. Like you learn so much fumbling sometimes through life.
Yeah.
Doesn't always feel good, but it helps us grow. Okay, so some strategies. and just have a couple jot it down here. Start small, try one new thing daily or even weekly, just take one step forward. So if you're struggling to really make some type of change, whether it's a weight loss goal or, just getting to the gym, whatever it is that you might want to start working towards, push yourself outside your comfort zone a little bit. Just try one small thing, one step forward.
Same.
Yeah?
Yep. I
Okay.
totally agree.
All right. If your fear is failing or you feel you made a bad decision, because sometimes that paralyzes people, like, I'm so
Hmm.
scared I'm going to make a bad decision or the wrong decision, then reframe that decision. I love this as data points, things to learn from.
Okay.
So remove the emotion from it a little bit. My dad
Right.
used to always tell me, like, and he really used to always say this to me, you can always make a new decision.
Yeah. True. That's good.
It's not final.
Yeah. Right. Why do we
But
do that? We think that this like this infinite thing and like, oh, that's it. That's it.
I
That's
don't know, but I think
do that.
most human beings struggle with that. I think that the people who are successful with making decisions, I don't know if it's a skill that they practice. I don't know,
Yep.
but I think a lot of us struggle with making decisions. I think it's
Oh
human.
yeah. I'm always like, and I'll ask. I ask you. I ask my friends. I ask like, is this right? Do you think this is right? I think this is a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah.
Because
I
then it's a group effort if it doesn't work. I can say, well, everybody said because we don't trust ourselves. We don't
yeah.
trust ourselves in these big moments that we want to get confirmation from others so then we can share the success or the failure.
Yeah, and I think about the PhD program, the PhD journey. If you have like no joy in what you're doing anymore, you
Oh,
hate it, your body, you feel sick, your personality's changing, you're in a bad mood. I mean, I felt tired at times, but I still would always say to myself, yeah, but you want to be here.
yeah, like I was still excited in the hardest of days and the hardest of courses and getting critiqued and I was still like, it was probably, I think I really matured with this degree because
Yeah.
I can remember taking some very hard criticism, but it was constructive. It was never rude. And I can just remember, like, you know what? And I thought, and she made me a better writer. My old self would have been, well, this stupid. I would have just scoffed at it and been so mad about it and hung on to that instead. And that's why I was like, I really must have grown through this because I took it all as now I'm a better writer. I'm going to do better, and I did. So
I think you have to be open to other people teaching you. You have to be open to constructive feedback. You have to be flexible in learning from other people to
yeah,
grow. It's a necessity. If you
yep.
are so stubborn and so one-sided and thinking that you're always right, you can't grow in that.
No matter where you
And then
are, I don't care if you're the CEO or the president, what the
yes,
highest.
because
There's
humans,
always room to grow, and
yes.
you don't know everything. And that's what they say, make the best leaders, the ones at the top who are still like, that's a great idea. You're right, or whatever. Like, they're
Mhm.
like, oh, I know that already.
No, because everybody has something to bring to the table. It
Right.
doesn't really matter, what you look like, what your title is. I mean, I think everybody, you can learn from everybody. And so if you keep an open mindset like that, it can really, it can really enhance the quality of your own life. I've experienced that from myself. Okay, we talked about this in a past episode. I have it as a strategy. Use visualization to help you prepare for change,
Yes.
you know?
See
And
it.
we've talked about that. I think it's episode 20.
Yeah, I think it was the
Um,
last episode we had.
yeah, it was the last episode.
Yeah. And it
Just what
was,
happens when you take a break? Can't remember.
I know it feels like a month ago.
Anyhow, I thought it was a pretty good
It's a good one.
episode. I know a lot of successful athletes and people in the sports world use visualization. Okay, you said this. Reflect afterwards to recognize your growth. And you just said that, looking
Yes.
back. So
And you really see it.
yeah, so that was spot on. I don't even think I shared these notes with you. We always do.
No, no, you didn't. That's why I was like, well, I did my own. We always do our own, and
Yeah.
a lot of mine said the same thing, and it even brought up the the York thing.
Your Dotson-Law.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, that's the same thing. But if you want to look at it with growth too, like, with your kids on the wall when they're little and you mark their
Oh
wall, the kids are like,
yeah.
I'm never growing. I'm so short or I'm not tall enough yet. And then I would always go back. I'm like, well, look at where you were and look where you are now.
I
And you
love
can
that.
see their growth on the wall. And gosh, I wish I would have like taken a picture of that when they were little or cut that piece of wall out to keep it because it's such a great visual of, seeing growth when you don't think that you're growing.
It's a great example. It's so true. I love that.
And look at our babies are grown.
Yeah, I know both of my sons are engaged. Well, one's married now.
I got one married, one grandbaby,
Yeah.
other one's on her way.
It's,
Oh,
yeah, it's incredible.
yeah.
Okay. So stepping outside your comfort zone leads to resilience, adaptability, and confidence. And so I just absolutely love that we had this conversation today. It's so just reflecting over the last 2 weeks, we needed this conversation today
Yes. And
because this
I
is,
think everything happens for a reason. And I think,
yeah,
however,
strange.
we always think that we've got this outline, this plan of what we're going to talk about. And we did, right? In the beginning, we had this wonderful outline. And we have changed that outline so many times because we're like, you know what? This would go better this week. And you know what? This would go better. And that's why I love the freedom of that we can just do that.
Yes, yes. I have gotten some interesting feedback just to help us grow as podcasters. I've gotten really great feedback. The guests that we have on the show, people really love hearing and learning from them. So
Oh,
I think that we're gonna start. What was that?
I said, and there's my dog.
Yeah, mine are so quiet.
Oh,
So we'll definitely continue to have guests on our show. I've also
perfect.
gotten some feedback, maybe make them a little bit shorter, maybe make them 30 minutes. People might
Okay.
not necessarily have time to listen for 45 minutes. So if you're
Okay.
listening today, if you think that's a good idea, let us know.
What are
Uh,
we at for time today? Almost
just
45?
almost 45 minutes. So we try to, sometimes we've gone a little bit longer, but so we're open to learning and growing on this platform too. Um, Yeah. And then I don't know what we're going to do next week yet. Let's think about it.
Let's just keep it up in the air. I think we do better that way. I know,
Sometimes
don't do have a special guest coming though, right?
I think we're going to invite back on Dr. Benavides and Dr. Tahir
Oh,
and
okay.
just to go back and see how things, are
Yeah.
progressing in their with their PhDs. And yeah, we'll try to get Laura Rossetti back, talk about Kona.
Yes, I want to hear, feel her energy through her conversation, which I feel like like, gosh, like that had to be such a rush. Just watching the videos today, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear her story.
Yeah,
So,
me too. All right, well, wrapping up and just growth isn't necessarily about giant leaps. You always say celebrate the small wins.
small,
So
small
it's
step.
about small intentional steps beyond what feels comfortable. And so, it's interesting. We say things on this podcast and then we'll be on LinkedIn or someplace on social media. It's like it's exactly aligned to what we're saying,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
It is kind of neat. I'm always like, that's the phone is like spying on us.
Somebody, yeah. So, but
Yeah,
celebrate the small wins. Marilyn always says that. Each time
absolutely.
you lean into your discomfort, you're training your brain, your body, and your spirit to adapt, to get stronger, and to expand what you thought was possible. How cool is that?
I love it.
Mhm. Okay, so we're going to give our listeners a challenge this week.
All right.
Everybody's going to go out there, push yourself to do one small thing outside your comfort zone.
One, it's easy.
Just one little thing.
Maybe drink more water. Eat one time less out. Maybe go for a walk that you haven't done.
I have a note. Maybe start a tough conversation you've been waiting to have.
Oh.
But I mean, avoidance. How many of us avoid conflict?
We avoid it, right? Because it's comfort.
It's
You're
more
trying to stay in
comfortable to
that
put up
comfort
with
zone.
something.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
right? Than to have a conversation and really try to change, to grow, try to become something more positive in your life.
All right, so we're
Um,
going to do this challenge with you,
yeah.
right? And we'll share
Hmm.
about that. We got to make a note of that. We'll share with you what we did for our one challenge real quick at the next episode.
Let's
Maybe we'll
do
just
that.
recap, talk about it, and then we'll, have our discussion for the week, but or for the day. Yeah, let's do that.
And maybe we need to register for
Shh.
something. Or no, oh wait, maybe not, Sarah. Maybe just relax a little bit. Just
Right. Ah,
I
yes.
don't know. Anyhow, it's great to see you.
You as
It's great
well.
to be back in our podcast world. And
Yay.
as always, we're grateful for our listeners and to have this platform. And we hope that we bring some value
Yeah.
and some growth and push you to take a small step towards outside your comfort zone towards more growth. So
Yeah.
that's
So
that. What do
let's
you,
all get out there and get uncomfortable.
there is that's it. That's our go out and get
Get
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
All right, Marilyn, it's great to see you. Thank you.
All right. All right. Bye, everybody. Much love.
Right,
See you
bye.
next week.
Yeah.